Biggest risk I've taken in my life would have been in 2008. Decided to put on a sport and music festival called Bournemouth Sevens. But then the biggest risk was gambling my family house and putting on a festival in the field. To have that conversation with your wife where you spent 100 grand, you don't know how much the festival is going to cost to put on by the time you get to May. The only option we got here is to remortgage the house and go for it.
You mentioned earlier you've been an owner or founded 5 businesses, exited 2. What was the first business?
2008 we launched the festival. 2010 we decided to create a sportswear brand. He agreed 100% up front. But once that deal was done, I walked. No identity crisis, no, I'm attached to a sportswear brand. I created a sportswear brand. Just another business for me. It cost £1 plus to put on each year up front. You're risking 364 days to earn your profit for one day. And there are so many moving parts that can go wrong. I just had something inside me that I knew we had to take this risk.
Hello, I'm Kieran O'Connor and welcome back to the Calculated Risks podcast. This is episode 4 and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Dodge Woodall. For those that aren't aware of who Dodge is, he's a true British entrepreneur. He is the owner of Bournemouth Sevens and he's the host of the Eventful Lives podcast. Hello, Dodge. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast today, mate.
It's my pleasure, Kieran. My pleasure. That was a lovely intro.
Thank you. I've been practicing that on the taxi over. It's worth mentioning we're in a different setup today because we normally record in a different studio and we made this happen with 6 hours notice.
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to tell the story about how we made this happen.
It's pretty amazing, really. I just loved, I got a random WhatsApp and I was thinking, you get random WhatsApp. They know we're out here in Dubai at the moment filming and people are coming in at different angles, but it's normally through DMs. And I got a message on my WhatsApp this morning with a little circle video comment saying, "I'm Kieran, I've got 60 seconds to sell myself. I'd love you on the podcast, Dodge. Can we make this happen?" I was like, yeah, absolutely amazing. I love your style. I love how you come in straight away. It was like, ballsy. I'm all about that. Go for it. In. 4 hours later, we're here.
Yeah, and that was I looked at the message before I come in. I messaged you at 10:08, I think, and you replied at 10:10. Literally 2 minutes, and within 30 minutes, this podcast studio was booked. So, shout out to Bunker for getting us in very last minute as well.
Absolutely.
So, the theme of my podcast is all around risk taking, and I'm quite interested in your answers. So, I want to go back to the early days of your professional career. What was the first big risk you took, and how did it play out?
Risk in business.
Business focus.
Business risk. Okay. Probably the biggest risk I've taken in my life would have been in 2008. We decided to put on a sport and music festival called Bournemouth Sevens. And we spent £100,000 in the lead up to this festival. And prior to that, I was doing 10 years in the nightclub world. So it was very easy, not very easy, but you would get 2,000 people into a nightclub. They'd pay £3. You'd keep the door money. And we had 12 nightclubs every week all around the country. And it was in my 20s. It was amazing. It was wonderful. But then the biggest risk was gambling my family house and putting on a festival in a field. And that doesn't come lightly. That's it's really taking me back right now. In fact, I haven't spoken about this for a long time, but it doesn't come lightly because when you decide to do a festival, there are so many risks in putting on a festival. There's so many moving parts. There's so many different revenue streams. There's so many things that can go wrong. But in 2008, I thought the festival was going to cost £100,000 to put on. And in the January of that year, and the festival was in the May, we spent £100,000 and run out of money. 2008 was the global financial crisis. So there was no banks loaning. There was no one around. No one was giving any money. It was just like everyone had shut shop. And to have that conversation with your wife, where you spent 100 grand, you don't know how much the festival was going to cost to put on by the time you get to May. So we had a conversation with my wife about sitting down, and we had a conversation, and it was like, the only option we got here is to remortgage the house and go for it.
I can only imagine how emotionally heavy that would be at that time.
It was. I can feel it now, in fact, because you're not just risking my emotion and my feelings and everything that goes with it, the mind. You're also about to marry a beautiful lady who's your fiance, who's anti-risk. I'm a promoter from London. She's this beautiful human being from Wales, brought up in the countryside, all about animals, all about the nature, and all of a sudden she's got involved with a promoter who's saying we need to remortgage our family house. So it was an emotional time, but I just had something inside me that I knew we had to take this risk. Thank God we took the risk, because we're still independently owned 19 years later on a festival that has 30,000 people and 12 festival arenas and TV crews and camping, glamping and DJs, 100 DJs and the whole thing. But the actual festival cost £300,000 to put on in year one. But you got to remember, in year one, people wouldn't buy tickets over the internet. You got to remember there was no Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the stuff that went with it. So you're relying on risking all that money up front as a gamble in the hope that people are going to turn up to your festival and pay cash on the door. That is serious risk. When I look back now as an adult and I mentor other entrepreneurs, I look back and say, would you do again what you just did then? No, I wouldn't. Would I say anyone to not do it? I'll say, yes, don't take that risk, because that was a serious, serious gamble. But we took the risk, and I love risk. And I buzz everything about risk, but that was probably the biggest gamble. And it wasn't just year one you gambled 300 grand. You got to remember that first year, I think we had 4,000 or 5,000 people turn up. Remember, you're building a mini town for people, and then remember your revenue streams are the tickets, camping, glamping, the catering units pay you all to be there. You got sponsorship. You've got all the different upgrades, the VIP and VVIP, but the main one, or one of the main ones really, is the money you take on the bar. And all of it was the unknown. Because when you go to a security firm and they say, how many security do you need? And I say, I don't know. Why don't you know? Because I don't know how many people are going to turn up. Why do you not know? Because everyone's paying cash on the door. Toilet company comes. How many toilets do you need? I don't know. Why don't you not know? Because I don't know how many people are going to turn up. It was constant that. The police, council, licensing were constantly asking me these questions. So there was a super amount of pressure on that year one, but even more pressure on year two and year three as well, because year one, we made £1,000 profit. And any festival out there normally takes about 7 years to break even. And we made £1,000 profit on year one. And I remember a guy called Melvin Ben, who is the owner of Reading Festival and Leeds Festival and a few other festivals, Latitude, Festival Republic. He came down and was like, Dodge, do not change a thing, because we were doing something very new. It was a sport and music festival. Well, back in 2008, there was only about 15 festivals, music festivals. No one was combining sport and music. And being an ex-sportsman who went to Loughborough Sports University and did the whole rugby thing, etc., with Leicester Tigers and Wasps, I thought I could create something new and break the back of this festival industry that was at a point where it was on the way that, on that journey. And it's been a really exciting journey, but that was been the biggest risk. And that went on for quite a few years until you really broke the back of that festival, where you're taking good dividends out of it at the end of the year.
Well, that really is a big risk.
Yeah.
And a great example of a calculated risk at the time, I can only imagine, thinking back, the emotional heaviness of that. But 19 years on, seriously well done to
Thank you.
prolonging it that long. So what's your risk tolerance like now when we sit in front of you today? Has that changed over the years?
It hasn't changed the slightest. I love risk. If I don't have risk in my life, I don't get a buzz. I have to buzz every day. I have to have that dopamine hit. I have to have that risk. I have to have that fear factor. Not fear factor, but that sort of that thing that's floating around, that you've got to make it work. You've got to make it work. And risk for me is refreshing. It's exciting. Gets you up. I think everyone should have risk in their life. Gets you out of your comfort zone. You don't know where you're going. When you're building new businesses, and I built 5 businesses over the last 30 years and exited 2. I'm still running 2 now. It's exciting, but you need that risk. It's different if you've got rich parents who are giving you the money to take the risk. That's very different. If you've got a fund, a pot of money, and you're 21 years old and your parents have saved up £1 million for you, you've got to make that £1 million work, but that's not real risk. They're under pressure as well, those kids as well, who are, I guess, taking the risk. But when it's your own money, you can't lose that money. In whatever business, you can't lose that money. You've got to make it work. You've got to be obsessed. You've got to be so passionate. You've got to love what you do. You have to love it, because there's going to be times when you're going to wake up, or you're going to go to bed, sleepless nights, thinking about money, because everything comes back down to money, whether you can pay the wage bill or whether you need that investment to get bigger acts or bigger something or more market, whatever it may be, whatever your business is, whether it's a sportswear brand, whether it's a festival, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a real estate. Yeah, yeah. I've not changed on the risk front. But as you get older, you become wealthier, and as you become wealthier, my feet are very firmly on the ground. That I don't care what wealth is behind you. You have to make that business work. It's not just, oh yeah, we can fund that. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Make that business work, and when that business works, everyone can earn. And I've been looked after a lot of people over the years, and I've hired and had wonderful people work alongside me. I've had wonderful management teams and directors and wonderful Gen Zs. Like, I love Gen Zs. People put them down, but I think they are truly amazing if you mold them in the right way and give them the self-belief and confidence.
It's great to see you not lost that risk appetite, because I've spoken to a lot of people who it does change over the years when you have a family and,
Yeah.
financial situations are different, but I can see the excitement. You still get that buzz.
Oh, massive buzz. I have to have a buzz. Have to. Otherwise, I'll get bored. I get bored very quickly.
Mm.
And as soon as I get bored, you lose my attention, and then people around you kind of lose the attention. But I have to do things that I enjoy doing as well. And I've been very blessed, touch wood, that the 5 businesses that I've built over the years have been in the world of sport, music, live events, festivals, podcasting, media. Like, it's stuff that I enjoy doing.
Come back to the early years then. What
Yeah.
was the first bit of entrepreneurship you had the taste of? What was the first thing you did?
Oh, loads.
Give us a few examples.
Loads. Like, I grew up living above a pub in London with a nightclub next door to my bedroom, where it had 1,000+ people in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And when you got a pub, a 2-floored pub, it was the feeder pub, the nightclub next door. And I just saw people back in the 80s always earning money. There was a lot of abundance of money. People were passing money around. People were doing deals. So I grew up with that entrepreneurial spirit. But we didn't know what the word entrepreneur was back then. You had Arthur Daly and Del Boy, and then you had Richard Branson, and then you had all these people. But back then, we just saw people earning money, and that was entrepreneurship. So I started entrepreneurship and earning money at a very young age, maybe 10 years old. At the back of the pub, I'd earn money. At the front of the pub, I would earn money. And inside the pub, I would earn money. And good money, and very quickly, because we had lots of people coming through the pub. So at the back of the pub, we had a big, like a Toys R Us shop. And if there was a little chip in one of the big toys, whatever, they'd put them in a skip, a real clean skip, one of those big skips. And I'd go skip diving, and my friend would grab my ankles, and I'd go in and grab it, and I'd set up a stand at the back with a bum bag. And as all the parents would walk past, or people walk past down to the River Thames, I'd end up selling these. Happy days on a Saturday. And then on a Saturday night, every Saturday, I'd go to the nightclub next door, speak to the manager, buy 20 tickets off him for £1. I'd sell the tickets for £2. The manager would keep his quid, I'd keep my quid, and the people going into the nightclub next door would get queue jump. So everyone was winning. So I was always taught as a young kid to always create win-win situations in everything you do. And at the front of the pub, every bank holiday, I would go to the cash and carry back then, and you would buy a load of hot dogs and you'd buy a load of ice creams. And if the weather was sunny, you'd sell all your ice creams. And if the weather was cloudy and not very nice, you'd sell all your hot dogs. And whatever you didn't sell at the end of it, you take back to the cash and carry and get your money back. So I was learning all this, and I was, a 10-year-old kid selling tickets to a club next door, earning £20 every Saturday night for 45 minutes of selling tickets to people in the pub to get them to queue jump. It was magical. I'd come out with £20. I was like, it felt like £1 million. It really did. To have that money as a 10-year-old and to earn, at the end of the bank holiday weekend, net profit, we used to do £600 net after you paid everything back. So I was around a lot of cash. My dad was a bodybuilder back in the day. He was the manager of the pub. It was his pub. Very well respected man, hard man, very loved by everyone, well respected. He'd always walk around with the big bodybuilding tracksuit bottoms, one of the gold gym ones, and he'd always have £1,000 in his pocket with a big money clip. And that's just what you grow up with. And when you grow up around that, you become that. Like, if you grew up as your parents was a doctor, you may end up becoming a doctor. Your parents were entrepreneur mindset and know how to earn money, and that's what I've done from a young age. It's just carried on for many decades, really.
Such an important skill to pick up early on in life, just making a quick drink on something, small wins here and there,
Yeah,
buying something and selling it for a little bit more.
yeah,
When you were talking then, it reminded me of my last conversation with a guest who accredited a lot of his success. He bought, scaled, and sold a business, and both his parents were actually business owners and entrepreneurs. And he said that had a massive influence on
yeah,
him when he was younger. I know you speak about your dad a lot.
yeah.
Do you think that really helped you having him around, making his own money and influenced you as you got older?
100%. But my mum was a proper entrepreneur from Manchester. She was like, she won Miss Manchester, Miss England. She's a very good looking lady. So she knew how to sell. She knew how to work the crowd. She was very emotionally intelligent. She used to know, she used to make people laugh. My dad was a strong man. He knew to earn money. And that combination of those two, this is what I was around, and you become your parents. We are our parents, whether you like it or not. I'm very blessed I would choose my mum and I would choose my dad. Not many people say that, but I truly would. And what the skill sets they taught me as a young kid, the biggest thing they ever gave me was self belief. To believe in yourself that if you think you can do something, go and do it. I didn't have a normal childhood. Living above a pub was very different. You weren't going to bed at 7 p.m. You're going to bed at 11 p.m. I was around adults the whole time. I was seeing stuff kids shouldn't see. But I loved every minute of it because there was a buzz. You'd have a police raid 1 minute, and the next minute you'd have a DJ player, and the next minute it'd be fancy dress, load of people, 500 people fancy dress. Next people having lunch. Next people were booze. There was things happening, and then we had doorman on the door, and you used to see stuff that you shouldn't see as a kid. And I just loved every moment of that upbringing. But like I always say, Kieran, wouldn't want my son to have that now, because all I wanted as a kid was to have peace. I didn't have a lot of peace, and I don't take that as a negative, but there wasn't a lot of calm because we had a nightclub next door. So every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you'd hear the DJ next door banging out music on the microphone. Everyone stamping their feet, singing "Come on, Eileen." Like there was no, it was very, there wasn't much sleep, and living in a two-bed flat, I just wanted comfort. So I wanted silence. So when I first started in my adulthood, when I first earned a big chunk of money in my first year of the nightclub world, I went and bought my own property straight away in that first year. And I just had silence. And that's all I have now.
Well, you've turned out a good person,
Thank you.
and you had an upbringing which you said was, noisy and not the ideal upbringing that you now reflect
Yeah,
back on. But then that's made you who you are. And now, with you having children
yeah,
and you providing them a different lifestyle, how do you think that will affect them as they grow older? Are you instilling certain principles into them?
100%. 100%. Like my parents instilled real good values. When you shake a hand, you look the person in the eye. You respect your elders. You open doors for people. All these they're just the little things, win-win situation. You have to be obsessed with business if you want to be a success. Always save for a rainy day. Like all these little things I was taught as a kid that they didn't probably know they were teaching me. But these values now is something that I pass down to my kids straight away. And the difference with me growing up as a 10-year-old, 15, 16, 17, I was around cash. Now kids aren't around cash. They don't understand the value of something. So the only way I can give that and what I do with my boy is he reads right to left. I was always taught by my parents, read right to left when you read the menu. How much is it and what are you getting for your money? So I teach my boy all the time, read right to left. If he wants that steak and he goes, that's 32 quid, he now knows, goes, oh, 32 pound, that's too expensive, Dad. He's a 10-year-old, he's 11-year-old. So he understands it. I'm teaching him the value of money because with the tap and go these days, no one knows what they're spending. And these young kids don't know what they're spending. And they won't know what they're spending. So, I teach him good values and being well mannered is probably the most important thing to me. He's very outgoing. He's a proper character. He gets business. He's 11, mind. He gets business better than most adults around. He asks the right questions. He understands sponsorship. He understands numbers. He understands money. He understands percentages. It's a simple thing, understanding percentages. But if you're getting 15% off something, I want him to know straight away. And it's quite, my wife and I get on really, really well. But the only time we ever have a little clash is when she wants him to go and get an education at school. He goes to a lovely private sporting school, and I'm like, mate, you don't need to know algebra. You don't need to know that. Bunsen burner thing. You don't need to know Pythagoras theory. You don't need to know Latin. So he's going in there with that attitude going, I don't need to know that. So there's only time my wife and I get that little sort of like, he's got to learn all that. But I'm thinking times are moving too quick right now. But my biggest thing for him is respect. Respect other people.
Respect and manners go a long way and get you
100%.
the right first whenever you meet someone for the first time. Yeah, first impression. Every time. Yeah.
And that's all you've got. All I have is my reputation and time. And my reputation, as I said today, over the last 30, 40 years, it's only you can only go on what people talk about you when you're not in the room. You know, so.
You mentioned earlier you've been an owner or founded 5 businesses,
Yes.
exited 2. What was the first business you founded?
As an adult, a real business, apart from all the things we're earning money.
The first proper business.
Was the student nights. I was the first student nightclub promoter to create a brand in year 2000. 99 it was, year 2000. I started that world in 98 in my second year at university. And I was always taught by my mum at a very young age, everyone you meet, pound a man. As a young age. That's why I got the pound a man for the nightclub tickets next door. You know, I was always a pound a man, everything that I was doing. When I got into second year at university, the university had 12,000 people there. When my previous school had 500. I was earning pound a man off the kids of 500. I then went to sports university, Loughborough, there's 12,000 people on campus. As I was driving up there, me and my mum like, pound a man. My eyes were like that. So I went to the local nightclub in my second year and said, you're charging £2 to get in. I'm one of the main faces on campus due to rugby, etc. How about we charge £3? I keep £1 and I get another 1,000 people through your doors. They already had 1,000 people there. So I walked straight in. They agreed to the deal. I walked straight into £1,000 cash and I got another 1,000 people every single week into that nightclub for the next sort of 4 or 5 years. So my second year at university, I was doing £2,000 a week net profit from that one club. And I also had a club in Wandsworth on a Tuesday night, student night, where it's another £1,000. So it was jackpot. I hit jackpot very early on. And I did that in my third year. And then when I finished university, I was like, right, how can I scale this? Because it was got to year 2000 then. So I created a brand called popyacherry.com. And I don't know if you've seen the Pasha logo. Do you know Pasha in Ibiza?
Yep.
We kind of borrowed that logo, tweaked it a little bit and created a .com because the .com boom came about then, which allowed us to create a website. So when we're promoting with flyers and posters, all of a sudden there's a .com at the end. People were like, what's this website thing? People would type it in and they would see our entertainment on that website. And then what we did very cleverly back then was to create, I guess you'd call it an app today. I went to a real clever friend of mine who was into that whole computer stuff. That wasn't my bag. Said, how can I take photos of people on a camera and get those photos uploaded on this website from 3 o'clock in the morning? When they wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, they can all see their photos from the night before. We managed to do that and their whole thing just took off. So it's basically like a mini Facebook before Facebook come live in the UK in 2008 or 7 or whatever it was. And what that allows us to do is to drive trade back to this website where people can see all their photos, and it allows us to promote all the different nights that we're going to be doing the following week, like week on week on week. So yeah, that was the start.
And when you were doing all that, that sounds like quite a fast-paced profession, you know, quick wins here and there.
Wins, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what sort of things have you know, now when you reflect back to it, what sort of things did you learn from doing that for a couple of years?
I learned my trade there. I learned I must have spoken over 250,000 people on the streets. But you think about it, you're flying on the streets. People think you're on £5 an hour flying, back then probably a lot less, £5 an hour flying on the streets. They don't realise you're taking the door money for 2,000 people times £3 a man. Minus your DJ at 150 quid and maybe 4 or 5 girls pouring out shots and what have you. So the stakes were super high. And I built that business and scaled that business. At peak, I had 12 of them every week. 12 nightclubs from Manchester, Birmingham, Leicester, 2 in London, Kent, Oxford, Cambridge, Bournemouth, Exeter. It just went on and on. We did that for 10 years. And the skills that I learnt there was same skills I learnt as a kid. Understanding people, reading people, understanding how to create win-wins, understanding how you can turn someone going into that nightclub, which they're normally about to go to on a Wednesday night, to get them into your nightclub. And you've got 10 seconds to do that. So you've got to be bubbly, you've got to be fun, you've got to talk them reasons why to go there. You've got to say how many other of you, 10 of you. I'll tell you what, go there. I'll tell you what, I'll get you to the front of the queue. Get them queue jump. Whatever you had to do to work people to get into that club. They were the skills. It's just, I love people. I love people. As you see, we met today. I instantly, bang, I'm on the phone back to you straight away. Said, let's make this work. I love people. I love people who reach out. I love ballsy people. I like all types of characters. But the skill set there really is just being a people person and being nice and having fun. And that's all I learned as a kid. And that's all I'm doing today as a 40-plus-year-old, doing exactly the same thing, but just bigger numbers and bigger scale.
Communication is so important, right?
Well, it's the only thing in business.
Mm.
You can't communicate, you're not going to have a business. If you can't promote, you're not going to be a good entrepreneur. If you can't sell, you're going to find building a business really difficult.
Let's go on to Bournemouth Sevens, because I'm very aware of it. I'm sure a lot of people are.
Yeah.
And we spoke about the risks that you took to start Bournemouth Sevens. But, for anyone who hasn't been to an event, I actually haven't been myself. So
Yeah.
What do you expect when you turn up to Bournemouth Sevens Festival?
Vibe, fun, party, fancy dress, boozy, sporty, colourful, happy, camping, glamping, DJs, kindness, energy. So you have 400 teams competing between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. across rugby, netball, hockey, dodgeball, volleyball, women's football, CrossFit. That's all the sports we do. And you have all those people buying into the weekend. There's 1,500 competitive games over 2 days, really well organised. Lots of different sporting celebrities there, lots of different celebrities there. It's just good energy. 12 festival arenas, big top dance tents, an 80s tent, garage, drum and bass, whatever it is. We're a festival for everyone. If you like that genre of music, it's not a drug orientated festival like a lot of them are. It's a very boozy, happy, fun vibe. And it's always the last bank holiday in May every year, 3 days. But that's a big risk in itself. Like it costs £2 million plus to put on each year up front, and you earn your money on those 3 days a year, and you earn your profit on the last day. So you're risking 364 days to earn your profit for 1 day. And there are so many moving parts that can go wrong. So many parts can go wrong, from getting cancelled, for a fire happening, to a plane coming down because we're next to the airport. There's just so many things that can go wrong at a festival. And that's why I take my hat off, Kieran, to any promoter out there who's gambled their own money on putting on a festival in a field. So I went from the nightclub world, which was indoor, all of a sudden I'm going to outdoor and not having a clue. Dealing with police, councils, licensing, fire, marquee companies, flooring, Wi-Fi, security. The list just goes on. There's like 100 different contractors. We have 1,000 staff who work each day at the festival. So it's a serious operation.
The idea of business is that as the years go on, it gets easier or more simple because systems and processes are implemented and things can work in better flow than in the early years, in theory, right? But what you've just mentioned there sounds like it's still so many moving parts, 19 years on. How does the business run? Most people who are watching this on my channel wouldn't have ever run a festival, nor met anyone who has. So how does a festival run after 19 years? What sort of
It's a
involvement do you
well-oiled
have?
machine. And we have really good staff in place, really good people who have been there and got the T-shirt, directors in place who've both got 10, 11 years under their belt. But we have a team of 7 people working the festival all year round. And then you have 1,000 contractors who are there, from 150 security, 200 bar staff, 200 referees and umpires, and catering 100, and so it gets to the 1,000. But you are dealing all year round on building so we finish our festival at the end of May. We always build a new website ready for September. How it works is that you get all your team entries in at September. So all the teams will come in and say, we want to be there in May because that's our end of season tour. And we deal with major sponsors who come on board, whether you're Adidas, whether you're Grenade Bars, whether you are Red Bull, whoever you may be, Carlsberg, Heineken, whatever it may be, and they pay us a fee to be there. There's 7 revenue streams.
What was the best one out of all those 19? Can you remember one specific one?
For different For different reasons. For financial reasons, 2021 was extraordinary because that was the year after the pandemic when we were allowed to open the doors. 2020, it got postponed, which was no one wanted to see festivals illegal for a year. 2021, we're hoping it would go on after postponing it 3 times. And then 7 weeks before that festival, we were told by Boris on the news that festivals can happen. But you got to remember, people haven't been working the doors as security. They haven't been working the bars, in the nightclubs, in the pubs, everywhere, because everyone's just been at home. So no one had been working. So all of a sudden, we got to find 1,000 members of staff to put this festival on with just 7 weeks. But that festival there was probably the hardest festival we've ever put on, but the most lucrative by far, because everyone has been cooped up for 18 months. The loyalty of people who've already bought their tickets from the year before, to then even more people buying tickets again for the following year. That was the toughest, but the most lucrative. But I guess the question was the most, what was it?
The best one.
The best
one
one.
for whatever reason you can remember.
Maybe 2012. There's different reasons. 2012 because we broke the back of it after year 18, 19, 20, 21. We broke the back of it after 5 years of it turning into a proper festival. 2021 for the reason I just said. And then 2019 because it was such a beautiful festival. Because as a festival owner, you've got 200 security there. You're waiting for problems to happen. Have fences blown down. Is there an incident going on? And there was nothing. It was the calmest. It was the calmest festival we've ever had. So I'd probably say 2025. 2025 last year, yeah.
And at this stage in the journey, you've built the nightlife business.
Yeah.
You've now gone into festivals as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned you've had good staff, and there's
Yeah.
no doubt you've had some good entrepreneurs, friends, maybe even mentors around you.
Yeah.
Like, is there any people from your journey, up until this point that you really remember, and why do you really remember them? How they helped you?
My mum and my dad. Fact. And my sister. They've been so supportive. A lot of families out there who, doesn't matter if they're a mum and dad, or brother or sister, an uncle, a cousin. I've seen it firsthand, not firsthand, but I've seen people, this jealousy can happen. When someone becomes a success, jealousy can happen. My mum has been so supportive from day one. My old man is the one who's been taking all the cash at the bars for 19 years. We've been running. And it's copious amounts of protecting that and having your family protect the money. You know that you've got 100% trust in them. So much belief as a kid, so much belief as an adult from them. So much, go for it, you can do it. And your sister as well, like those three. I've never had a mentor, but I'm a very curious human being. And if you ask good questions, you get good answers. But if you ask great questions, you get great answers. And I've done the latter really well to lots of different people, whether it's Barry Hearn, who's the chairman of Matchroom Sport, dad of Eddie, whether it's Harry Redknapp, whether it's people in the festival world like Melvin Benn, whether it's people in the sportswear world when I built and sold the sportswear brand, and whether it's in people in the podcasting world I'm in now, and I always like to reach out to people, and then you get really good answers from them, and then they get to like you, then you build a relationship. But I've never had a one set mentor.
You mentioned there the sportswear brand that you built and exited.
Yep.
I think you mentioned earlier you built and exited 2 businesses.
Yes.
Talk me through them one by one.
2008, we launched the festival. 2010, we decided to create a sportswear brand. And I looked at the sportswear industry and I saw there was a massive gap in the market to beat the industry mold. And the industry mold back then was teamwear. So teamwear was like, if I ordered 1,000 tracksuits, we would bespoke it for you for 1,000 tracksuits, 1,000 shorts, 1,000 socks, 1,000 hoodies, etc., for your university or your club. And I saw our competitors going to China to get all their kit. And I thought, this is odd. Because when I was at Loughborough, that kit took, at the start of the season, it was never on time. It was always like a month late. The whole of Loughborough Sports University, it was always a month late. And I saw other universities doing that. And in 2010, I was like, how can I beat this industry mold? Okay, how can I go and let's check out some factories in China. It took 3 months to make the gear, put it on the water, bring it back to the UK, get through customs, and then it had to be sent across the UK. So I was like, right, let me check out Chinese factories. I'm doing the same as them, 3 months. Language barrier, problem. There was court cases there as well. There's court cases in different parts of the journey, because when you're an entrepreneur, there will be court cases. There will be people trying to do you over for something. And we've had we've had 3 court cases and 3 out of court settlements, and all of them. Yeah, but that's another conversation and topic. But you will get your David and Goliaths. You will get the big boys, and the people who took us to court on 3 different occasions were massive. One of them was one of the biggest countries in the world. Yeah, and two other strong companies. But going back to that, so I was like, right, how can I beat the industry more? Like China's 3 months. I went to Turkey. We got factories in Turkey. We went to India, Pakistan. It just didn't work. The language barrier was wrong. The timings were wrong. The materials weren't right. They said they would do something, and they didn't do it right. And then I finally managed to find a factory in Lithuania, and that was a game changer. That was an absolute game changer.
Did you approach that business in a different way? Did you approach it with the idea and the mentality that you were always going to sell it, or did it just happen?
I didn't go into it in 2010 thinking I want to build this and sell it. I went into it because I saw a gap in the market, and I knew that more so for beating the industry mold more than the finances. I know I'm a bit weird like that, but I wanted to know that I could shake things up. And we did that massively, because we got Lewis Moody, who was the England World Cup winning captain, on board as our ambassador. He was with Nike at that time. He left his Nike contract, forgot to tell them, and he was seen in Viper 10 gear on the BBC TV and on Sky Sports and everything else. We had Pamela Cookie, who was the England netball captain at that time, because our major sports we focused in were rugby and netball back then. We had Lithuanian factory that could turn things around in 4 weeks and land it on people's doors. We knew their 1 month. We knew all our competitors were 3 months. Then I was thinking, how can I create something online which is like Nike ID? You go on Nike and you can design your own trainers, colors, bang, bang, bang. I said to a friend of mine, how can we design something where people can design their own kits online, whether it's netball kits or rugby kits for your club, anywhere around the country? So we designed this, paid him to do it. I was like, wow, what if we get people to design their own kits and they can have fun in it? So drive traffic to the website. They can design their own kits. They put their name in, mobile number, and then when they press that button to say how much price it would be, it would then pop up for their price. We'd get the contact details and we'd call them. So again, we had no one on the road. So we made it an online digital business selling bespoke teamwear to everyone in the UK. And then it grew very quickly to New Zealand, Dubai, Hong Kong, and Australia, all the rugby and netball playing countries. And it just grew very, very quickly. And we had huge exposure because of the people we had on board. And it just worked. We didn't have any sales reps on the road. That saved us another 30, 40 grand compared to our competitors who had sales reps, had mobile phones, had to pay the petrol. So all of a sudden we found this business that we've just tweaked, refined, and made it really efficient.
I've spoken to so many people who have built and sold businesses, and there's a topic that always comes up, and I'm quite interested to hear how you handle the situation. So when you sell a business,
Yep.
I haven't sold a business yet, but
Yep.
hopefully
You will do.
soon. I will do soon. The people that I've spoken to have talk about an identity shift, sometimes identity crisis. When you're attached to a business,
Yep.
once you've started the business, you have that emotional connection, right?
Yep.
And then you sell it, and then depending on how it's sold and what your position is after, potentially you might be you have no ties to that business from the following day after.
Yep.
Did you sense anything like that within yourself, like an identity shift after selling the business?
No, not whatsoever. Just another
Straight
business to
on.
me. Yeah, because I cut a deal. I got a phone call one Sunday night. I was walking up to bed and it was a random number. Pretty much what you've done today. Random number coming through. I took it. It's like, hey Dodge, this is da-da-da-da from da-da-da company. I've been watching Viper 10 sportswear for the last 3 years. I love what you're doing. I love your social media. I love your presence. I love everything you're doing about it. I want to acquire you. I was like, Chris, are you taking the mickey? I thought it was my best mate. And I literally was like, yep, send me some information about you. Da-da-da-da. Next morning, he was the real deal. So when we done that deal, I went in to meet him, found out who he was, how much money he's got behind him, that he's the real deal. He's not just pretending. A very wealthy company. And we done a deal, agreed a deal. And I shook his hand. I said, I'll do this deal, but it's 100% upfront, 0 earn out. So once I'm done, I walk. We agreed on it. And it went over 8 months with lawyers back and forward, accountants. And about a month before, he changed the deal to 10% up front and the 30% every year after that. So I was like, it's 100% front or nothing. I'm walking. And he agreed to 100% up front. So once that deal was done, I walked. No identity crisis. No, oh, I'm attached to a sportswear brand. I created a sportswear brand. Just another business for me. Another tick box to say, one, I've sold my first company, because that's a beautiful feeling, by the way. It's a beautiful feeling to know that you can sell a company and learn that process. It's a beautiful feeling that you've beaten the industry mold. And it's a beautiful feeling when they drop the money in your bank. But after that, there is no emotion whatsoever. People used to say to me a year later, how's Viper 10 Sportswear? I don't know. I've had one phone call. I was on to the next thing.
And what year was that?
2018 we sold. So we invested £250,000, which we didn't have at the time, in 2010. Didn't know what we're going into. Didn't know what industry. I've got no experience. I got a wonderful girl on board who was creative director, who had the most beautiful designs. She was so efficient. She became a shareholder. I gave her shares in the company. She was a student from Bath University who come aboard as a placement. When she went to go back, I made her an offer not to go back and leave her degree. So she left her degree and stayed. Shareholder. When she come on board, we were 2010 to 2012. So it was like about 18 months to 2 years of research and development to trial the kit, error, what works, what doesn't, materials. I learned all this stuff that I didn't have a clue about. Ended up being £250,000 in before I knew it, which is a dangerous amount of money to be in. And I didn't have that money because I was only year 2 of the festival, which was dangerous as well. So I had this double whammy in 2008 and 2010, 2011, 2012 of 2 businesses that were both very risky. Anyway, we managed to grow. We launched in 2012 at Bournemouth Sevens Festival. So all the branding looked like we were the title sponsor. So I was leveraging one business to promote another business. And it worked a treat, because everyone at that festival was walking around in Viper 10 hoodies, Viper 10 jackets, Viper 10 shorts, all bespoke, made for them for the festival as well. They would then take all their kits and go back to all their clubs, wherever they are, and people are seeing Viper 10 everywhere. Then seeing Lewis Moody on BBC TV for the England matches with his jacket on, and BBC said to him, "You're not allowed to wear that jacket." So he would come on, they'd go 3, 2, 1, he'd grab the jacket and go zoop, massive Viper 10 here. So he was on the front of many magazines and newspapers and stuff, and it just worked an absolute treat. It really did. And we sold in 2018. So we had 6 years of selling, 2 years of research development.
It's quite clear now that media is very, very important to you. You know, the podcast is huge, and video content online, and, you know, even the LinkedIn written posts and stuff like that as well. At what point throughout all of this journey did you realize I need to go all in on media?
As soon as the pandemic came.
Mhm.
As soon as the pandemic came, I loved that, by the way. I loved the pandemic. I know, not for all the reasons that were people not well and what have you, but when that came, it couldn't have come quick enough for me. It allowed me to jump in with 2 feet and create 2 new businesses, because I'd lost my festival because it was illegal to put on because of the pandemic. 30,000 people can't be in a field. And that was the point where one of my members of staff said, "You've got to go public. You've got to create a Facebook account that's public. You've got to create an Instagram account that's public. Why don't you host a podcast? Why don't you go on podcast?" I was like, what is a podcast? I don't want to be on Instagram. I don't want to be the front man. I've always been the person who's put the business in front of me. The brand's been stronger than the owner. But as soon as you put yourself in front of your business and become the face of your business, everything changes. I mean, everything changes. And I can only speak on personal experience here. And that was the point when I went all in. I felt very uncomfortable, by the way. You know, my team were like, "Dodge, you've got to say this on camera and on an Instagram, and you've got to take this photo of you standing next to something saying, oh, painful." I didn't like it at all. I really didn't want to be anything involved, but I want to thank them for pushing me on that front. But then as you get into it, and you start writing more and writing more on LinkedIn, and people see your photo and see your character and see who you are and see that you're real, everyone wants to be involved with you, because there's not many real people out there these days. There's a lot of AI. There's a lot of people pretending to be something they're not. But the real people are the ones that will stand out and do stand out, because the real spot real. People who aren't real and pretend to be something they're not can fool the people that don't really care. But the people who are real don't fool anyone, because you're real. The people that care are the ones that matter. The people that are real are the ones that matter. The people. So it's a double-edged sword for people who are pretending to be something. I think it's a lot easier just to be you. Doesn't matter what part of the journey you're on. You could be in year 2, being an entrepreneur. You could be year 10, but don't compare yourself to someone who's been in the game 30 years as an entrepreneur. There's lots of stuff that I'm good at, and there is so many more things that I'm not good at. But I just have people around me who make me look better because they're great at the stuff that I don't want anything to do with. And that's how I kind of lived my life, really, as an adult in business.
I can relate to what you said. It's very, very difficult starting out, right? The first podcast I remember that I didn't want to be there. Cameras everywhere. I was, not sure. Started doing like a week in the life sort of vlog series,
Did
which has
you?
opened up so many opportunities
Did
for
it?
like business and personal
Good for you.
just opportunities. And now it's natural.
Yeah.
I get some nice messages saying, you look good. It looks natural to you,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like that at the start.
Yeah.
So
No,
hard.
but no one knows.
No.
No one knows.
And no one actually cares as much as you think. You
No
think
one
everyone's
gives-
going to be looking.
No
No
one
one
gives a
cares.
shit. Like, honestly, Kieran, people are too worried what other people think.
Mm.
Listen, we all want to be liked. We all want to be nice. We all want to be liked. No one cares. People are so worried about what they're doing in their world and what's important to them at that time. They're not worried about what you're doing. So anyone out there who's hanging around and thinking about, should I not start a business? Just bloody start. Just start. Because you've got to start somewhere. There's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect moment to start a business. Just start, get the ball rolling. Get your social handles, get your website, get your branding, see how you want to get your voice, start talking to camera. We all start somewhere. If I look back at my 2020 podcast conversations, they'd be very different as to where they are today.
I know starting my podcast was one of the best things I've done.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that after they've started it, but what sort of impact has Eventful Lives had on you and your life?
Unreal. I can't tell you. I have to say, of everything I've done, Kieran, of all the years, podcasting has been the most impactful thing that's ever happened for me in my business journey.
Why so?
Opportunities. So when we started this podcast, one, I didn't know what a podcast was, but I knew I was well connected. So I knew that I could get people on. I could have gone down a full celebrity route, but I didn't want to do that. I knew in business it takes 1,000 days to break the back of something. So I'm like, right, I'm in for 1,000 days. I know if I do one episode every single week for 1,000 days, for the first 2 years, I didn't even look at any stats. Not one stat. I didn't go on and go, oh, how are we doing on Spotify? How are we doing Apple? I didn't care, because I knew it'd be very, very small. What's the point? I've got to wait for the hockey stick. Da, 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 da. Same in any business. You know, sometimes businesses take 3 years, 1,000 days to break the back of something. Some businesses take 5, some businesses take 10, but 90% of businesses actually fail. People don't talk about this. People think that, on Instagram, people are making 100 grand in 5 days' work. It's not the truth. It's not the truth. But going back to your question, the podcast has changed my world. Even prime example, after episode 8, I got a phone call from the executive director of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Phoned up, Dodge, I've got your number. I'd like to have a chat with you. I'm like, come down to the studio. He's like, we like your style. I know you're only 8 episodes in and you're not trained or whatever, but we like your style. Would you like to be a co-host for a new podcast? I was like, fantastic. What was that? What is it? He went, the Harry Redknapp show. I was like, 100%. Yes, I'm in. Where do I sign? We're all West Ham fans. He's my hero. Where do we sign? Sign the contract. Next week, me, Harry, are both interviewing Piers Morgan. Next week, Sir Rod Stewart. Next week, Frank Lampard. Next week, Ramesh Ranganathan. Next week, Jamie Redknapp. Next week, it just went on and on and on. And Frankie Dettori, all these like proper faces. And that wouldn't have come about if I hadn't had a podcast. And maybe 6 months later, I got a phone call that we want you to be on this YouTube channel called The Sidemen. Didn't have a clue who they were. And when they wanted me to be a Dragon's Den on this show with The Sidemen, and they're massive on YouTube, like 20 million follower or whatever it is. And I agreed to do it. I wouldn't have done that, which was a great experience. I wouldn't have had all the opportunities of the investments that I've invested into mental health apps. I wouldn't have met some fascinating people who I've helped. I would have helped, we've had 100 million views. I wouldn't have, the amount of people that we've helped who might be really struggling at home with their mind and thinking dark thoughts. We've helped. We've just helped and helped and helped. And if you just keep helping people, good things come your way.
Yeah, making a big impact on
Making
people
a
that you
big
don't even
impact.
know. And I
Agree.
mentioned to you off camera, we watched your podcast every Sunday when we were back in the UK just doing some work. And
Yeah.
it was great to listen to some mega guests, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Some mega guests. I think you've done over 300 episodes.
340 odd episodes we've done. That's 340 odd different people from every walk of life who've had an eventful life, whether you are a criminal underworld, whether you're SAS, whether you're one of the top entrepreneurs in the country, whether you're a comedian, whether you're an ex-undercover policeman, whether you're an international drug smuggler, whether you're a sportsman. Anyone and everyone, whether you are the best fitness guy in the country giving people tips, whether you're a mind coach helping people with their mind health.
It's a lot of guests.
It's a lot of guests.
Does it get easier or harder to source guests as you get to 340 episodes? Easier.
Easier, yeah. Yeah, it's always been an easy thing for me to get guests. I remember when I first started, people said to me, the hardest thing about podcasting is getting guests. The easiest thing for me in podcasting is getting guests. It really is. From day one, so I'm blessed because that's my thing. I'm the one who gets guests on. I've never sent an email, never paid, never done any massive outreach. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. Can I have his mobile number? Or my mate knows that person, got his mobile, send a WhatsApp, and all of a sudden, WhatsApp, bam, you're in the studio. Maybe in a month's time, or 2 days, or 3 months' time, when we can time the workings for each other.
And keep it human. Just keep it human.
Keep
Reach
it
out to
real.
people. Yeah,
Keep it real. I freestyle everything like I am today. I have no notes. I have no computer. You're freestyling
Same.
it today, which is wonderful. So massive respect to you. But just keep it real and keep it fun.
Before we come on to your time out here in Dubai,
Yep.
you mentioned 5 businesses, but how many do you have running now simultaneously?
I've just exited one last week.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was a really nice exit.
And what business was that?
That was an online education tech business, an online course for the events world. Again, I saw a gap in the market in the pandemic. 200,000 people left the events industry because there was no events happening. There was no charity events, no sporting events, no music events, no festivals. It just went whoop-doom. But you had to go to university and do a 4-year degree and leave with £45,000 worth of debt to get into the events industry. So I wanted to speed this up and fast track people into the events industry. So we created an online course where I brought 40 of the world's leading industry experts in to film in the studio on certain subjects. So you might be from Glastonbury Festival. You might be from London Fashion Week. You might be from Chelsea Football Club. You might be the commercial director here. You might be an events, head of a senior events manager at somewhere or whatever it was. So I brought them in and pre-filmed all this. And again, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, like all the businesses. Like one, I wasn't a big education fan as a kid, and I hated exams. But I wanted to create something with no exams, and you can speed up. So the course was £3,000. You can do the course in your own time, at home, within 3 months. And as soon as you pass that course with all your accreditation, bam, we'll get you to the events, get you a job in the events industry. So we sold over £1 million worth of courses very quickly over that period, and we sold the company last week.
Well done.
Yeah, that was a real nice one. I enjoyed that one. I didn't like the business. Same as Viper 10 Sports. Where I like creating business. I like being the creative mind. I like being the brainchild behind it. I like that point. I don't operate businesses. I put people in place to operate. That's not my bag. But to get that one over the line last week. And there's a lot of pressure when you're selling a company because you'll have 6 months back and forward, lawyers fighting, arguing over stuff, silly stuff, and then the accountants, and then someone might chip you and they chip you again, and then you'll battle against that. Then you think, yeah, I don't want to lose that person who's buying me. And there's loads of it's an emotional roller coaster when selling a company. And I'm cool with that, but my wife finds it very difficult. And she's just an angel. She's just such an angel, I can't tell you. Because she's the financial director of the group of companies. So she sees all the money. I'm good at bringing money in, contacts, and opening doors and creating stuff, but she's there seeing it every day, what's coming in, what's coming out. So she takes it on board. But the selling of the two companies was tough for her until that money is in the bank, you haven't sold it. And anyone can offer you, and anyone out there who's selling their company, you believe it's a certain figure, but that's you saying that figure, that, until the money's in the bank, it's only worth what someone's prepared to pay for it.
And you're out here in Dubai now with a team filming a documentary.
Yeah, we're doing a mini doc here in Dubai. We've been blessed. A wonderful chap flew us out here, business class, and put us up in a beautiful place for a week because he wanted to come on the podcast. So I was like, perfect, time it in with Dubai Sevens. So we only came for that, really. And all of a sudden, people hear that you're out here in Dubai, and then we've done videos and messages, and people wanted to come on the podcast. And like yourself, a few people have reached out, come on my podcast, and it's just a wonderful place to do business out here. And it's made me realize the energy is contagious out here for people helping people to get better in business and become better at life and better at contacts and better at everything, really.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well because I've only been here 8 weeks, October
Yeah.
1st, and just the size of the opportunity.
Yeah.
The people that I'm meeting who are one WhatsApp away,
Yep.
willing to help, willing to come on, willing to introduce you to someone coming from Cardiff, second to none. That isn't available in South Wales. What else have you taken away from your trip to Dubai, to tell people who maybe haven't been to Dubai?
A lot of joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of good people, a lot of goodwill. No one's on edge. No one's worried about any crime. Wonderful food, gyms everywhere, restaurants everywhere, coffee shops everywhere, 20 minutes to get anywhere, beautiful hotels. People have got this feeling of just wanting to give contacts. There's no gatekeepers. In England, people don't give contact. I'm a very free contact giving person in the UK, but 99.9 don't want to give any contact. Here, people are like, yeah, have his number. I'll do an intro for you. Do you want that? Yeah, I've given you 3 contacts. Here's a couple of contacts. Go for it. And it's just how I remember this, just how London was and the UK was in the late 90s or 90s and the 2000s. It had that vibe of it's happening. London was happening. London was the place to be. London was the capital of the world. London was London. London's the capital of the world. Lots of parties going on, lots of fun, lots of club culture. We talk about club culture, we talk about different cultures. We forget about that nightclub culture is where people went to meet people. People went to drink and have fun and meet another half. There was no swiping left and swiping right to meet, ready to meet someone on an app. You had to go out and you had to bring a group of mates and a group of girls, and you just go and have fun. It was very safe. And when I come out here, it feels very safe. And it's just got the sunshine as well. It ticks a lot of boxes. I'm trying to find some negatives with it at the moment because I'm speaking very highly of this place. And the negatives, when I look back, sort of the UK to here, the negatives, I guess I can really call upon is we get 4 seasons in the UK, which is a wonderful feeling, but that's a very small thing. Country pubs, Sunday rugby clubs on the weekend when the kids are playing. There's all these wonderful things, countryside, greenery. I get all that. But the way the UK is versus Dubai today, Dubai is winning all day long right now. And if you've not been here to experience it, I would recommend coming out here. I really would, just to see it for yourself. Don't take it on me that I'm just saying this, because I see on LinkedIn people going, oh, we're in Dubai. And I see people piping up going, yeah, but you don't get this. Da, da, da. Have those people been to Dubai and experienced for themselves? It's very efficient here. It's very easy. Yeah.
And you mentioned you mentor younger people. You probably have some good younger Gen Z, as you mentioned, around
Yep.
you. Team's great. We spoke off
Brilliant
camera.
team.
What makes younger people stand out to you? I know you mentioned earlier, be real, authentic, but
Yeah.
what would make you want to
Hunger.
straight up hunger?
Hunger. If you're hungry and you're bouncing ideas and you're coming to me, I've done this, or do something before I've even thought about it. Like, I've booked that, or I've done something there and we've arranged that, or I've got a contact there. Before even I'm thinking about it, that to me is tick, 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 tick. I like these people. I like these people being around me. You know, we've got a team here, wonderful team, Ollie and Dylan, who have come out of me. Ollie's 20 years old. 20 years old. He's got a brain of a 30-year-old. He's hungry. You've got Dylan's 26, one of the best creatives there are in the country. You know, he makes amazing trailer movies. He's bang on the top of Eventful Lives. And where we're going with this business now is we're launching the book, The Straight Talking Founder. We're launching a second podcast, The Straight Talking Founder. And we'll be doing entrepreneur masterminds and group coaching, where I can just help lots of people. You don't have to be in the same area. It's a 2-hour Zoom every week, but people have to be in that right mindset. We don't take everyone on. We cherry pick what's right for us and what's right for them, whether they can afford it, number one, and number two, can I add any value to what they're doing? And this is the trajectory we're on now, and it's a really exciting place right now. I think 2026 is one of the most exciting periods will be in my life for sure, just for what we've built up over all these years of, I guess, the personal brand of people going, who is that Dodge Woodall? Like, you know, I never charged for any of this stuff. I'm always helping. Now, the journey we're on now is like, well, let's really take this seriously. You know, how can we help people who are entrepreneurs who maybe in year 2 or maybe in year 7 and they're stuck? They're stuck in hiring people, and they're stuck in how do you create culture, or they're stuck in what's the next step, or what I want is a pool of people where they've all come together and we're helping them with contacts. And we're just bringing that sort of, I guess, that Dubai vibe to the UK, you know, and I see myself coming at it quite a bit, I think. Now I've got the taste for it.
I got one last question.
Yeah.
Before I do, just want to say, respect the conversation and your journey. It's been an honor to sit in front of you and hear it. And it's great to see you still got the energy, the buzz
Yeah.
about entrepreneurship, man. You still
Yeah.
love taking risk and, you know, looking after the team out here.
Yeah.
It's great to see. You mentioned off camera there's a book coming out.
Yep.
Hopefully you can share some information on that. I definitely want to buy that. What's that about?
Yeah, it's been quite a few years, but going write a book. I wouldn't know where to start to write a book. Number one, so I know listen out there. Don't think that I'm just that going written a book. I've had a book coach come in, who's been a ghostwriter, and she's wonderful. She's written 200 books, and we just sat there solid, day in, day out, day in, day out. Her getting as much information out of me as possible, and we've created a hybrid. I didn't want it to be like an autobiography, and I didn't want it just to be a how-to book. We created a hybrid of my journey as a kid growing up above pubs, to all the things, how we've earned money, to all the businesses we set up, to all the highs and lows and the pressures and the financial pressures and the cultures and the leadership and everything just thrown in there. And each chapter at the end has my version of 7 or 8 lessons from each business that I've done. And my wife's reading it at the moment, and she's really very critical because I want her to critique it. And she was going, this is so real. People are going to love this. So I don't know who's going to love it. I haven't got a clue, but I'm going to put the book out there, The Straight Talking Founder, with the Straight Talking Founder new podcast. And I'm going to see what happens. And hopefully people read it and enjoy it.
When's the release date?
I haven't got a release date yet. But I'll let you know as soon as that happens.
Good. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. I appreciate it, man.
Kieran, I appreciate you reaching out. A lot of respect there. I also really appreciate you bringing that gift as well.
Cafe Patil's, for anyone wondering,
Cafe
only the
Patil,
best dates in
posh
Dubai.
dates
How
from
good were they?
Dubai. Unbelievable. They were unreal, weren't they? Unreal. So I
So
appreciate that,
cool.
and that'll always remember. And reaching out as well. That's a big thing. I tell everyone, just reach out, knock on people's
Just do it.
doors. I've been knocking on people's doors for years.
Mm.
You get setbacks, you get knockbacks. So what?
True.
Yeah. Good man.
And that's it. That's the end of episode 4 with Dodge Woodall. We hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in next week's episode.
Lovely.
Bosh.
Cheers, Kieran.
Thank you very much, man.
Good
I
man.
appreciate it, Dodge.
Nice one.